కొందరుంటారు జీవితంలో ప్రతి అనుభవాన్ని ఆనందిస్తూ ఉంటారు. కెరియర్లో కష్టాన్నైనా, కుటుంబమైనా, వ్యక్తిగత ఇష్టాన్నైనా మనస్ఫూర్తిగా ఆస్వాదిస్తారు. ప్రతి అడుగు అద్భుతమైన అవకాశంగా మలుచుకుంటారు. అనురాధ ఆచార్య సరిగ్గా అలాంటి వ్యక్తే. అసలు అమ్మాయిలకు చదువు ఎందుకు అనే రోజుల్లోనే తన తండ్రి ఇచ్చిన ఎంకరేజ్మెంట్తో ఎంతోమంది మహిళలకు ఇన్స్పిరేషన్గా నిలిచారు. ప్రతి కొత్త విషయం ఆమెకొక ఆసక్తికర అంశం. దాన్ని తెలుసుకోవాలనే తపన, ఛాలెంజ్ని ఛేదించాలనే పట్టుదల ఆమెనొక గొప్ప ఎంటర్‌ప్రెన్యూర్‌గా నిలిపింది. అమెరికాలో చదువు పూర్తి కాగానే ఫోన్ నెంబర్లు మ్యాప్ చేసే స్టార్టప్లో పనిచేసి ఇప్పుడు ఏకంగా మనిషి డిఎన్ఏనే మ్యాప్ చేసే స్టార్టప్ను స్థాపించారు. మ్యాథ్స్, ఫిజిక్స్ చదివినప్పటికీ బయో ఇన్ఫర్మాటిక్స్లోకి ప్రవేశించారు. డాక్టర్స్కి కూడా తెలియని ఎన్నో విషయాలు తమ ప్రత్యేకమైన టెస్ట్ల ద్వారా బయటకు తెస్తున్నారు. మ్యాప్ మై జీనోమ్ అనే పేరుతో ఇండియాలోనే ఫస్ట్ ప్రివెంటివ్ జెనెటిక్స్ కంపెనీగా ఎన్నో ప్రశంసలు అందుకున్నారు. కంపెనీని ఎంత బాధ్యతగా రన్ చేస్తారో అంతే అద్భుతంగా జీవితాన్ని ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తారీవిడ. అంతకు మించి అప్పటి వరకు ప్రపంచానికి అంతగా పరిచయం లేని మార్గాన్ని ఎంచుకుని కొత్త దారులు క్రియేట్ చేశారు. మరింత మందికి స్ఫూర్తిగా నిలుస్తున్నారు అను ఆచార్య, మ్యాప్ మై జీనోమ్ కో-ఫౌండర్.
హాయ్, వెల్కమ్ టు మిలియనియర్ మైండ్స్. ఎవ్రీ టైం మనం ఒక కొత్త సక్సెస్ఫుల్ స్టోరీని, ఒక స్టార్టప్ స్టోరీని చూస్తున్నాం. బట్ ఈసారి మనం వచ్చిన స్టోరీ ఏంటో చాలా డిఫరెంట్గా ఉంటుందన్నమాట. మ్యాప్ మై జీనోమ్ అనే ఒక కంపెనీకి వచ్చాం. సో అసలు ఈ కంపెనీ ఏంటి అని అంటే, ఇది నార్మల్గా ఒక ల్యాబొరేటరీ కాదు, ఇది ఒక డయాగ్నోస్టికల్ కంపెనీనే. బట్ ఇందులో వచ్చే టెస్ట్లు ఏంటంటే, మన జెనెటిక్స్ ద్వారా ఫ్యూచర్లో మనకి ఏం హెల్త్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ రాకుండా వీళ్ళు కొన్ని టెస్టులు చేస్తూ ఉంటారనమాట. సో ఆ టెస్టుల వల్ల డాక్టర్స్కి ఉపయోగం, మనకి ఉపయోగం. ఎందుకంటే మనం ప్రివెంట్ చేయొచ్చు, మనకేమీ డిసీజెస్ రాకుండా. సో అసలు ఈ కంపెనీ గురించి, ఈ కంపెనీ ఇంకా ఏం చేస్తుంది అని CEO అండ్ ఫౌండర్ అను ఆచార్య మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు. తనని అడిగి మరిన్ని వివరాలు తెలుసుకుందాం. హాయ్ అను, హౌ ఆర్ యూ?
Good, thank you for having me.
సో ఐ జస్ట్ వాంట్ టు నో వై ఇట్ ఈస్ మ్యాప్ మై జీనోమ్. ఆ నేమ్కి ఏమిటి, ఏమన్నా పర్టిక్యులర్ రీజన్ ఏమన్నా ఉందా?
సో మన జీనోమ్ అంటే ఆ బాడీలో అన్ని సెల్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా. విదిన్ ద సెల్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ వాట్ వీ కాల్ as DNA ఉంటుంది. DNA, the whole DNA is called a genome. So when we are saying map my genome, it basically says we are understanding what is there in your genome, and ఆ genome ని మ్యాప్ చేస్తే we can tell you whether what kinds of, where did you come from, we can tell you what foods will work for you and so on. So map my genome is as simple as it can get.
So simply I can say history
is
of
history. You can find out geography, you can find out
yeah.
also
each and everything.
biology basically. So it is basically understanding your own self, right? So we are understanding that our body is made up of lots of different A, C, T's and G's, which are the basic building blocks. Like మన ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, ABCD. సేమ్ డిఎన్ఏలో ACT and G 4 ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఆ 4 ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్తో యూ మేక్ ద డిఎన్ఏ స్ట్రక్చర్. అండ్ డిఎన్ఏ స్ట్రక్చర్ని మనం వీ రీడ్ దట్, రైట్? సో వీ రీడ్ దట్ అండ్ వీ ఫైండ్ స్పెసిఫిక్ పార్ట్స్ ఆన్ ద జీనోమ్ దట్ ఆర్ సార్ట్ ఆఫ్ కోరిలేటెడ్ విత్ ద డిజీజ్ ఆర్ క్యాన్ పొటెన్షియలీ కాజ్ డిజీజ్. సో ఆర్ ఆల్సో క్యాన్ ఫైండ్ అవుట్ విచ్ మెడిసిన్ వర్క్స్ ఫర్ యూ, ఏ మందు మీకు
పనిచేస్తుంది అనేది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ యూస్ఫుల్ టు ద డాక్టర్స్ యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ ద పేషెంట్ కూడా అంటారు మీరు. ఓకే, సో ఇన్ డీటెయిల్ మనం ఇంకా ఈ కంపెనీ గురించి తెలుసుకునే ముందు ఐ జస్ట్ వాంట్ టు నో అబౌట్ యూ ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్, బికాస్ you are a woman entrepreneur. At the same time you did your bachelor's in 1992 from Kharagpur IIT, and what you did after that?
So then after studying in IIT in 1995, I finished my undergraduate and graduate degree in 1995, and then I went to the US. US లో ఇంకా 2-3 మాస్టర్స్ చేశాను. తర్వాత then I went to I worked for one startup.
Okay.
Startup లో పనిచేసా, and that was I think very useful
That
for me.
startup in USA or in
Startup
India?
in USA. It was
okay.
Chicago based startup.
Okay.
That startup we used to do, it was also new technology at that time.
Okay.
Where we were trying to understand phones and the phone numbers. Now we can, as you know, we go from one place to another, the phone number stays the same. అప్పుడు అట్లా లేదు కదా, you had to, if you are in a city, that was your number, and then you move to another city, you change your number. So we made the software that was sort of working on how do you make sure that the same number can be carried on.
Okay.
So it was very interesting at that point of time. Then I worked for a consulting company.
Okay.
A consulting company lo kuda I've actually consulted a startup. So I think I've been sort of in the startup world. Yes.
Okay.
After that, I moved back to India and started my first company called Ossimum Biosolutions.
That was in which year?
2000.
2000. Okay.
So 2000, my daughter was just born that time, first daughter, and then we moved back when she was 10 months old. After we came back, we started Ossimum Biosolutions. Appudu you have to remember that, you know, all this genomics at that time, nothing was there. Even Google was just about starting. So it looked like a very interesting field, right? So when you did a search on genomics or bioinformatics, 2-3 hits came,
Yes.
right? It was a very different time that time. So we felt it is chala interesting undi field, and we should do something in this. So that's how we did.
Idi field interesting, and how you got interest in this field, that is more important.
For the first time in your life, they spent billions of dollars and decoded the human genome. So the first time that took so long, and it basically said, you know, you're not only doing something on the computer, you can now understand your own self. And for me, that was exciting. Okay, you can actually read our own software. That for me was super exciting. And even though it was very new at that time, I felt that it was something that, you know, I come from an IIT, you know how to understand math. And this was, for me at that point, it looked like math and physics. It didn't feel like biology, right? And I think if you look at the history of bioinformatics, I think a lot of physicists go into that. So
So initially, what was the challenges you are facing? Because, you know, by that time ఎవరికి అసలు తెలియనే తెలీదు. ఈవెన్ ఇప్పుడు కూడా కొంతమందికి బికాస్ ఆఫ్ యూనో ద అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ ద హాస్పిటల్స్ ఆర్ సజెస్టింగ్, దానివల్ల తెలుస్తుంది. బట్ బై ద టైమ్ అనేది అసలు చాలా యూనో వెరీ రేరెస్ట్ థింగ్ కదా. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఛాలెంజెస్?
అప్పుడు we didn't have people in India who knew bioinformatics. So it was very hard to do that. And so we started, actually we worked with one of our other co-founders. She was in the US. And then we said, you know, we need to get people, right? I mean, we can find programmers, we can find people, but we need domain experts. For that, we did actually a tie-up with the university in the US.
Okay.
Michigan Tech at that time. And we started doing training also over here. And over here, we found people who had moved back from the US, moved back from Japan, moved back from somewhere else. So our team was very international to begin with, because everybody came from other countries. For the first time, 2 lakh people or lots of people applied when we started. It was recession time. Only 3 people had anything to do with whatever we were doing, right? So I think it was very exciting to even find those 2-3 people, and they also became part of our early team. Some people that we joined actually are still working with us. So it is it's great to see that, you know, some of our early employees and who are basically sort of like, you know, in today's world, co-founders are
So what could be the reason for all this? Very few people are into this one. They haven't seen any potential, or they are not interested.
No, it's not that. It's a brand new field, right? So if it's a brand new field, it takes time for it to percolate into the education system. So my daughter had biology exam. Looking at her textbook had bioinformatics. It had the genome project. When we were growing up, it wasn't there, because it wasn't even I mean, it wasn't even discovered by the time, so you can't expect it to be there, right? So I think when you look at a brand new industry, it's a nascent industry. You are the one bearing the torch. You can't expect that it's already there. So I think, for me, it has been more about, can we find the paths? Can we create the path, right? So I didn't have to look at anybody or follow anybody. I think that's an advantage in some ways. But you also have to have the DNA to support that.
సో ఈ మ్యాప్ మై జీనోమ్ అనే ఈ కంపెనీ నార్మల్ పాథలాజికల్ ల్యాబ్ అయితే కాదు. సో సమ్ ఆఫ్ ద స్పెషల్ టెస్ట్స్ ఆర్ హియర్. వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ అండ్ వాటిని అసలు మనం డైలీ లైఫ్లో మేము ఎలా యూజ్ చేయగలుగుతాము, వాటి వల్ల యాజ్ ఏ పర్సన్ నాకు ఆర్ డాక్టర్స్కి వాళ్ళకి ఎలాగ యూజ్ అవుతుంది అసలు?
So let me just begin. After Ossimum, we said whole world is moving towards personalized medicine. Personalized medicine ante you and I might, earlier we were all given that, okay, if you have fever, you all take Calpol or something like that, right?
Paracetamol.
Or you take a paracetamol, you take something, right? If you have this, you take that. Now, what we started to find is that from many thousands of years ago, we found out that different people react differently. So the whole world is moving towards personalized medicine. It says that you are unique, I am unique, and our bodies function differently. And even though we are 99.9% alike, the differences are what causes the change, both in terms of how do we look like that, right? I mean, that also is there in your DNA. Why do we behave in a certain way? You might have seen that even in a family of 4, it may be everybody is given the same environment, but some people are different, right? Your one child might be completely different from the other. So there is something in your DNA that basically tells you about how you look, how you behave, how you react to food, how do you react to certain environment, and how do you actually are susceptible to some diseases, how do certain drugs work from you, and so on. So there are many elements, I feel, that DNA can help you understand. And so what we are doing is to basically say that we can take we can help people understand or know themselves better. And our first product is called Genome Patri. And in Genome Patri, we take the sample and then we give a full overall about your health.
Okay.
Are you likely to have high blood pressure? Are you likely to thyroid? Are you likely to look at vitamins and what kind of behavioral? How do you learn? How do you? Are you resilient? Are you likely to be addicted to certain things? Coffee. You might have seen some people drink coffee and go to sleep. Others cannot have coffee and
can't have sleep.
So different people react differently. And then we also help people understand that, are you likely to have a risk for type 2 diabetes or cancer or cardiovascular disease and so on. But we don't just say that, hello, you are at risk and so go be worried, right? I think what we do at Map My Genome is basically say that if you look at life as being an equation, there are many variables, right? Your health is not just determined by, where you live or what age you are or what, whether you run or eat and so on. It's also determined by environment, by the genetics and so on. Genetics is the only thing that really doesn't change, right? So you're born with some basic this thing and your genetics is not going to change. So it's important to understand that so you can make the changes in the other, right? So if I know that I'm at risk for type 2 diabetes, I make those changes early on in life so you don't get the disease. So the purpose is not to tell people that we'll tell you what disease you'll get, but the purpose is to say how do you remain healthy.
Okay.
So if you know what I'm predisposed to, then I know how I can help those people to actually not get the
am
disease.
I going to get all this as a result? Normal pathological lab, how they are giving me the result? Am I going to get like that?
No, actually it's going to be much thicker. There's just a sample, but you're going to get like a report that is about 100 pages long. First report is going to be about 100 pages long.
Oh my God, okay.
Don't have to worry about it, and it's easy to understand, right? So it'll basically show you that some parts of this are like this person has low vitamin B6 levels or has medium risk for nicotine dependence, which means that if they start to actually have cigarettes on a regular basis or smoke regular basis, the chances of them becoming addicted are high. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we go into all these skin conditions,
Okay.
lifestyle conditions, sleep cycle, sleep
Mm.
depth, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then cardiovascular, food allergies,
Mm-hmm.
sports, and then we go into all the diseases, right? So
Okay.
cardiovascular, endocrine, liver,
Mm-hmm.
cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a detailed report. So first 5-6 pages are talking about just a summary.
Summary.
So you can see where are the greens, where are the reds, and then you move into more details, right? So it'll
Okay.
tell you, okay, this is these are some of the drugs that work
Mm.
for them. So it goes, when we look at details for each one, it'll tell you for stroke, what are your genes, what are your preventive
Mm.
measures, and so on. What are the risk factors? What can you do? Did you know certain things? So it's basically informing customers a lot about the details, and then we do counseling.
Okay.
So there's genetic counseling where we take your family history, this
Mm.
report, and then tell you what to do. And after that, we will give you a recommendations report. So it'll be a short report. It will tell your doctor and you, these are the recommended changes. Now you do what you need to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, next phase is to connect that with the blood tests that we do. So if you think about it, you might be doing a health check on a yearly basis, right? So you're saying that, but we might, all of us just pick one health check. We don't necessarily do every single test. So what you can do is you take the report that comes from here, you take your information that's coming from lifestyle, and you take information that's coming from your blood test.
Okay.
And you put all of those together.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can tell you, you're going the right way or the wrong way, right? Are you
Acha,
making
okay.
those changes? Is your health improving? It's a different approach to thinking about,
Got your point. To understand the
Sure.
other person, I mean, rather than saying you have this disease.
you have this disease, right?
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So most people first thing they'll say, oh, you can tell which disease I'll
which
get.
disease?
So we say, no, that's not our mission is to keep you healthy, not to get you to fall sick.
These tests are very new to the people. So laboratories kani lekapothe, or how many hospitals are recommending these tests?
So now I think it is becoming quite popular. We are seeing that some of the larger hospital chains have also started incorporating this in their whole reports. So we have tie-ups with large hospital chains like Apollo and others. We are also working with a lot of hospitals, small individual hospitals, clinics. We are working with many other, mother and child and oncology-based this thing, because we also do clinical genetics as well. So these are more preventive, and I feel that this can make the biggest impact, because pretty much anyone in the country can get an access to that. For doing something that is clinical, then you have to be, you would typically do that when you are sick.
So before going to some other more test, I want to know about you being a woman in this entrepreneur journey. And it's a very unique subject in the world and even in India. Did you felt any challenges facing, or anything?
I mean, challenges will be there, and I
Yeah,
think if
for
anyone
anyone, yes.
I mean, whether you are an entrepreneur, not entrepreneur, anyway, I think challenges are going to be there. I think the impact that you can create is higher than the challenges that come your way,
okay.
right? So for me, it has not been too difficult to sort of navigate through those challenges to be able to get there. But I think the advantage I have had pretty much all my life is that I've had a very good, strong support system. Right?
Okay.
Whether it was my family growing up, I was born in a family of academic, whole family, was very supportive. I got married. My family here is also very supportive. So I think I've been able to not have the same problems that a large number of people might have, which is, do I have to cook any food? I don't, unless I want to, right? And so there are certain choices I've been able to make, which I know are not normal for many people, right?
In this aspect, I just want to know, what do you think for the women? Education is very important to take their own decisions, to be independent, to to like individuality, all these things? What do you say?
Oh, 100%. I think education is a must. But I think education, not just in terms of like completing marks or getting this thing, but I think also in terms of saying, have we been able to, like, looking at our society, have we really grown as from a thought perspective? And I think that is an important thing.
So what society should do to be like this?
So I think we need to, we've seen some changes already, right? I think for instance, my mother's time and my time, huge difference, right? And I think that whole change came about because my father moved away from Rajasthan, moved to Bengal. And I think Bengal was a great melting pot of cultural this thing. And so I grew up in that culture. And I think once you grow up, the early stages of your life, I think that confidence level is high at that time, right? So one is, what is there within your family, within your whole little unit that you live in. Second is your friends and family, right? Who do you hang out with? Are they also, are you discussing, what are you discussing? What is most important to you at a young age? Are you only discussing marriage, for instance, right? Or are you discussing books? Are you discussing business? Are you discussing something else? I think that those conversations are very important.
That impacts a lot, right?
It does. So I think one is like, I think pretty much all of my classmates, all the girls in my batch, everybody has done very well and everybody is across the world and is doing well. And we never even thought, that there was something different. We never spoke about things that they will, tell that this is what you
this is what you need to do. You have to be like this. You have to be like
So nobody told us that, no, you need to wear pink and you can't wear this and you need to dress like this and you need to do that. I think my father got me toys that were, he got the same
Blue
toys
color?
No, he got toys that we used to make our own electronics. He used to get us every year. He would get something that was exciting, scientific. He got us things that we could learn a music instrument. So I think that makes a big difference. Right? If you don't stereotype anybody, then it automatically changes your perception about things. And after that, I think it's also most important. Choose the right partner. Who you marry is
very important.
Is one of the biggest decisions that you will make. You're better off not marrying than marrying somebody.
So when you met your husband?
So we met in IIT.
It's a love marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's from Hyderabad.
Okay.
His last name is Linga Reddy, but
okay.
many times people call him Acharya.
Oh, that's the reason you kept Acharya.
No, I kept my name and he kept his. But my mother-in-law also kept her name. So you have to see this is a tradition in our family as well. So we met in college when we were Kharagpur. And then he went to the US and then I also went to the US. And, I think we've known each other since 1990-91. So it has been, many, many years now. I think we've pretty much grown up with each other.
Coming back to the company again. So I have seen very different tests are here. One is true selfie and the right medicine. Do you ever test on yourself and which one is that one?
I am the guinea pig for everything. Maybe we can make you the guinea pig.
Oh yeah, sure. Why not?
So I've actually done genetic tests like 5-6 times now.
Okay.
Because I've done it in...
So is there any particular reason that you are doing 5-6 times?
No, I did in other companies. I've done it with us.
So
I've become
like
the...
showing.
Yes. So you can see there's a little swab over there.
Okay, cotton swab is here.
So you can either spit into something or you can take a swab. So you just do and then you do 10 times this side, 10 times that side. Turn it around, put it in and that's it.
Okay.
So that is what you do. And then there is, you can see there is like consent forms and questionnaire and all that on that. So DNA, you are seeing two types of this thing. One, like I mentioned, your father and mother gave you that DNA, right? That DNA is same in all cells. We are basically, once it comes back to the lab, we go through extraction. So you want to extract DNA from that sample, right? Because saliva has this thing, so you'll extract that. Once you extract that, you will then run it on a chip.
Okay.
On that chip, you are running it, you get lots of ACTGs, right? So it will tell you on that chromosome at that place, this is the data you get. So we get a lot of data. Then we have our own algorithm that we run.
Okay.
And in that algorithm, it will tell you you are 2 times or 0.5 times or risk versus the other person, and will then highlight that. So that is what you see in this.
Okay.
Similarly, I think this is a new one that we created, which is called the Medica Map.
Mm-hmm.
And in Medica Map, we are basically saying there are many medicines that people take, right? But sometimes a doctor also can't just look at you and figure out whether, unless they have known
I'm having this like that.
Unless sometimes I know some really great doctors who know your whole family history, and therefore they know if there are allergies or something like that, right? What this does is it tells you by looking at your genotype whether certain drugs will work for you or not work for you.
Oh, okay.
So if you just see over here, we have about 165 drugs. And the ones in green means whatever doctor told you is 500 grams of blood, you take that. If they told you anything, whatever they wrote, blindly you can take it. If it is showing action recommended, then typically what we tell them is there is information that is given in each of these details pages, which will tell them that there are what we call as CPIC guidelines.
Okay.
CPIC guidelines, so it will tell them idi cheyali, adi cheyali, right? So that means your dose koncham taggichali or increase cheyali or medicine marpadi, right? So you are basically trying to understand how this is going to affect you, and therefore, so anything that is red or orange, they have to read guidelines and then tell them what needs to be done.
So coming back to the company again, so when you started this company, how many people they joined with you?
So Map My Genome, because it was my second, I think we started with about 6-7 people, because there were people who were already in Ossimum, and we started with that. We did also then quickly build the team, because none of our team was mostly used to working with researchers and with people who knew more about genomics than us, right? Or at least as much as we did. Now we were working with, like, in Map My Genome, we are working with average consumers. So we started getting people who understood that. We built, from our board also has someone who was Mr. Gopalakrishnan, who was basically has been in Tata's for a long period of time as vice chairman. So we got in people who sort of could understand the consumer mindset. And I think, over a period of time, during COVID, because we also did testing at the airport, you might have seen
Yes.
we had almost gone up to 300 people at that point. And then we have some people in Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay, Chennai. And so Delhi and Bangalore, we have full labs which do...
Yeah, I have seen outside here in this building also,
Correct.
You have the normal pathological
Correct.
lab also, right? RT-PCR and all you have, right?
So we do RT-PCR, we do blood tests, pretty much any regular blood test that we do.
Okay.
So that is there on a slightly, we put it on the diagnostics.map my genome button, and then we do this. And the reason we are doing this is we want to combine the data that comes. So we don't want to just say that, do a cholesterol test, right?
Okay.
If you do a cholesterol test, can we correlate that back to your genetics and your lifestyle to say that now what do you need to do, right? Because it's not enough to just say, you have high cholesterol, then what do you do, right? So I think though that getting people to understand and slowly change their habits, habit changing is not easy, but it is not impossible.
So do you have any idea it's going to be, successful or anything in your mind by the time?
I mean, of course, I think as an entrepreneur, you're optimistic, and
So,
I mean, and maybe that, I don't know if everybody is, but I am like that, right? I think, for me, more important than saying how many employees will be, I think our mission really is to say, can we impact 100 million people, right? And, so there is a big desire and a big intention to be able to make that impact. And I think, I constantly think about that, and every day we are getting a little bit closer to that. So it is about having a big dream and making sure that you are doing the right things to...
How much you are impacting on the society is
important. And I think, we all have a short period on earth. We should do our bit and,
leave your footprint and
leave your footprint. I think that's the important thing, right?
So what do you do in your free time? Watch movies or anything?
So I usually, I sometimes do watch movies. I meet friends, and other times I mean, I read, I write, I enjoy what I do.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Anu Acharya, and it's
Thank
been
you.
a very wonderful, knowing different things from you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
సో ఇదండి ఈరోజు ఇంటర్వ్యూ. మరో ఇంటర్వ్యూతో మళ్ళీ కలుసుకుందాం.